Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Paige Ryans, and today we are talking about the 24th annual Garden State Film Festival, New Jersey's premier independent film festival. Garden State Film Festival will run from March 26th through March 29th with over 200 films from various countries, screening at 9 different venues throughout Asbury Park in Cranford, New Jersey. It is such a great time, a fun time. You can get your tickets at gsff.org/tickets, and there will also be tickets available at the door. And now let's meet today's filmmaker. Very excited to be here with Nicole Cohn, who is here to talk about her short film. Welcome, Nicole. How's it going?
Hi, Paige. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Very excited to just talk about the film. I'm very excited for audiences to see the film. And yeah, so why don't we just dive in and begin with if you could introduce like your role with the film, and then we'll talk about a little bit about your film.
Sure. So I'm Nicole. I'm the writer, director, and one of the producers of the short film, Are You Having Fun?
Yes. Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about the film?
Totally. So this was my thesis as a part of the NYU grad film program. And Are You Having Fun follows the main character, Ava, as she is planning and hosting a bachelorette party for her best friend, Kendall. And as you can imagine, in these types of films, everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And she's doing this simultaneously while applying for a job, and those two things come in conflict with each other: her job applying process and her best friend's bachelorette party.
Awesome. And what would you say your inspiration for writing this was?
Yeah, there were a few different inspirations. So a lot of it's based off of a true story. I was inspired by my bachelorette party. I got married a few years ago, and my best friends were so kind to throw me a party. But a lot of things didn't go correctly. Um, and a big source of inspiration beyond that was just, we were all in our early 30s. These were my best friends from college. And a lot of the times we only saw each other when big life events happened, right? Whether that was like someone's graduation or their birthday or if they were getting married. And it just really made me think, throughout the weekend, all these crazy things kept happening. And my sister was there as well. And she's like, wow, if this was me and my friends, we would have left Miami 3 days ago. She's like, you all are trying so hard to make this work. And I was like, yeah, it's because we barely see each other, and made me kind of led to the thesis of the film, which is, what are the boundaries we push, and what are the sacrifices we make to spend time with the people we love, especially at this point of our lives. And I think an even bigger theme that came to me, in the year I started writing this in 2023, 2024, but I think it's relevant today, 2 years later. I think in your 30s with student loans
Mhm.
and all these in politics and all these crazy things happening in the world, I think emerging adulthood looks a lot different today than it did 20 years ago. And you can be the same age as your best friend and living a very different life, right? Someone can be married, and someone can have this job, and someone can still be in grad school, or someone could have 5 kids, and you can all be the same age and living very different experiences. And I think the film touches on that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I really just enjoyed watching this because it just felt very like very cozy, very like, chilling with my friends, and it just felt like very at home. And
Mm,
I just like the way that you told that it was told,
thank
and
you.
you're welcome. And I was just wondering if there was any like did you draw inspiration from any directors, any TV shows or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, I think Black womanhood, Black girlhood is an important topic to me. It's a topic I'm very passionate about and showing. And Casey Lemons is a professor at NYU and one of our advisors, and that's a big theme in her work. I'm also very inspired by television. Insecure was a TV show by Issa Rae that I drew a lot of inspiration from. I think the comedy of that. Um, there's like a Euphoria shout out at the
Mhm.
beginning of the film, and this is a very different vibe. But I think a lot of the colors of that show inspired me. There's like a lot of bright colors and saturation, and so those are just some inspirations that immediately come to mind.
Yeah. I was also going to say that it definitely um I saw kind of insecure like that
Mm,
inspiration drawn from it, which I loved because I feel like, you know, I think that insecure in your film just are they're they kind of are, you could tell the influence from it, but they're just so great separate. You know, like I feel like I don't want to
yeah.
compare because they're just so great in their own way. You know what I mean? But they are
Yeah.
great,
Thank
great
you.
influences. And so where did you find your cast and crew? I think that you found a great cast to play, you know, just such strong, you know, women who are just kind of navigating their own things. But I feel like they gave really great performances. Where did you go about kind of finding this, finding?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's one, as far as crew, I think that's one of the benefits of being in grad school and being in a community like NYU. The majority of the crew were my classmates or members of the NYU community. And as far as actors, I'm really lucky. One of my best friends, Kaylin Coleman, she plays the character Kendall in the film. So she is automatically in a lot of my films, and she has a great network as well. She connected me to Lana, who plays Ava, the main character in the film. And then the other two characters we found through a really talented casting director. And I think it's really the heart of the film. I think, we had only a couple of days to rehearse and all the characters immediately clicked. And I mean, obviously they're talented, they acted, but I think a lot of the chemistry was just naturally there, and they didn't have to work too hard to pretend that they were all friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you kind of find that location? Like, was that anywhere special that you kind of scouted that out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I grew up in Miami. I have family there, I have resources there. And because my bachelorette party actually happened in Miami, I thought it would be good to go to the heart of the source. And it was one of the first things I did, maybe 6 months, a year before I went to production. As soon as the script was done, I was like, we have to find this location because it's the heart of the film, and everything else will fall into place once we have that. So I just connected to a really great Airbnb service, um, and they just kind of let us do our thing, which we were very, very fortunate.
Nice. That's awesome. That's great. And shout out Airbnb. Um, and what was that filming process like for you? Because I know you mentioned this was your thesis. Was it it was the last year, right? So I can
Exactly.
imagine it was a busy year.
Yeah,
Or
for
busy,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you mean just like what the actual shoot was like, or
Yeah,
the lead
like
up to it?
yeah, like the I guess the kind of from start to finish, like after you know you the script was finished and it was just kind of like you got your crew and your cast, like what did that look like leading up to, I guess, the final, in post production and everything like that?
Yeah. It's a mad dash, right? It's like, I think a lot of filmmakers can relate to the feeling of, is this going to happen until you're actually on set? So I would say pre-production was, maybe a good 2, 3 months, with the support of NYU. We shot for 4 days on location. And we wrapped, I believe it was April 2024. It was Easter weekend we shot. And then we were in posts up until January of 2025, I think. All the years blend together at this point. But it was about like a 6 to 8 month post production process. I had an amazing editor who really whipped it out in only a couple months, but between color and sound and all those elements, it took us a little second to get to the finish line.
Absolutely. Yeah. And would you say that there was anything that you learned about yourself through this film process? And it could be in terms of your filmmaking style, like, your directing style, or yourself just kind of like through just themes that, were represented throughout the film. You mentioned like the questions that were just kind of, you see throughout. those questions just to think about as you're watching the film. Anything in that aspect do you think that you learn about yourself that you kind of that stuck with you and that you might want to bring to your next project or next film or anything?
Wow, that's a really great question. I feel like I learned so much. Let me think of a way to consolidate it. I mean, I think the most important thing, and I think a lot of filmmakers can relate to this, is just how important your team is. I think I was so, it's just me to hear, but here today, but I was so blessed with my producers, my crew. The actors were all phenomenal, and I think a lot of times it's easy to go into these kinds of things and get stressed and think it's all on you. And I think I really had to learn to rely on other folks because it wasn't going to get just done with me. Literally, it would have been impossible. So I think that was my biggest takeaway, just being able to choosing the right folks and really being able to lean on them. And I think I'll definitely take that. A lot of the same people will be on the next film if they will have me.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah,
will.
thanks.
You're welcome. And would you say that you have like what was your favorite part of this process?
Yeah, there's so many. I think one thing that immediately comes to mind was just I think the costuming and production design. I think at other films, obviously that was an element, but I think for this film, between all the pre-production stuff, it was like kind of stressful trying to coordinate everything. And then my amazing production and costume person, Stephanie, um, show me images of the costumes. I think that was the first time, like a month out, I got really excited. I was like, oh, this feels like a film. This feels like it's going to be really fun. Um, so yeah, I think that's one thing that immediately comes to mind, and just the actors. I think I admire actors so much. I think filmmaking's hard, but I think acting is so hard. Just to have to be on all the time, and I just learned so much from my actors, and I really admired them.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. That was great. And
Thanks.
what's next for you? Are you working on? Is there anything in the works? You don't have to share too much, but like, how can we keep up with your journey?
Yeah. So are you having fun's currently on the film festival circuit? And right now I'm just writing. I have a feature that I'm on a second draft for. Um, and I'm just trying to find inspiration. I'm reading. I'm trying to see like what the next thing is. But I think just summarize, I have a feature that I'm working on. I'm excited to try and get that made and get that out there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on your acceptance and
Thank you.
congratulations in advance on the feature that you're working on and writing on. I have no doubt that it's going to be just as great.
Thank you.
Um, you're welcome. And I guess my final question for you is, will you be joining us this year at the festival in person?
Yes, I will be there. I'm so excited that I actually live in Monmouth County. I live about 5 minutes away from Asbury Park. So I'm so excited to go to festival in my neighborhood and meet some local filmmakers and to celebrate filmmaking in my area. So yes, I will definitely be there.
That's great. That's awesome. Yes, I think it's just always such a great time. Will this be your first time with Garden State Film Festival, or have you done it in the past?
I screened, but I wasn't able to go the last time. So this will be my first time actually being there. So I'm really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Well, we look forward to seeing you in person,
Okay.
and look forward to just audiences appreciating your film. Again, you can check out Are You Having Fun on Saturday, March 28th, at the Continental Ballroom, Block CBR 20, between 6 p.m. and 7:45 p.m. And again, for everyone watching, Garden State Film Festival, March 26th through March 29th. 200 films from various countries, 9 different venues. You can get your tickets now at gsff.org/tickets. And once again, thank you, Nicole, for being here. It was a pleasure. And we'll see you at the festival.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Paige. I'll see you there.
See you there.